Hello, I'm Lorraine Martin, and I'm doing this wellness gathering, Health by Choice and Not by Chance series of taking ownership of your well being. And we're very pleased to have our Dr. Gary Linder back because he was here before. He's so full of knowledge. And we're doing the sixth letter on sleep on the in the ownership uh, acronym for that for taking ownership. So Dr. Linder is president and founder of Self Care Awakening. He has received his doctorate in physiology at the Clements University. And since 1989, Dr. Linder is dedicated in helping people become aware and make choices for a healthy lifestyle. So I'll pass it on to you, Doctor, to give us your presentation.
Well, thank you, Lorraine, and I'm going to share my screen. Thank you for inviting me to share with you all today. And this is a presentation that we call Sleep Matters. And I think we can all agree that sleep is very important. And as a physiologist, it's kind of interesting to note that as a science, sleep science is a relatively new field. In fact, some of the things I'm going to talk about weren't even elucidated, like the sleep cycle patterns, until like the late 50s. So it's a relatively new field when you're talking about from a scientific endeavor, but it's something that is extremely important. And from this science, we've actually learned how important sleep is for us. And so we'll kind of just get started with these slides. So this is from the father of sleep medicine. His name is William C. Dement from Stanford University. And it exemplifies how important sleep is. And the quote reads, "Healthy sleep has been empirically proven to be the single most important determinant in predicting longevity, more important than diet, exercise, or heredity." And here's a quote from another gentleman, Matthew Walker, and I highly recommend this book, a little night table reading, if you will, Why We Sleep. And Dr. Walker is a neuroscientist at the University of California at Berkeley. And here's a quote from this book. He says, "I used to suggest that sleep is the third pillar of good health along with diet and exercise, but I don't agree with that anymore. Sleep is the single most effective thing you can do to reset your brain and body for health." So those are very powerful statements. I often kind of talk with people and say, if you ask people what are the good pathways to be healthy, you usually get two responses, or a combination of both, and they'll usually say diet and exercise. Now, diet and exercise can be very important, but just as these individuals are pointing out, and very well-known individuals, I might add, not as important as a good night's quality sleep. So how did you sleep last night? Well, chances are maybe not very well. In fact, the Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, calls insufficient sleep a public health epidemic. And the World Health Organization calls it a global epidemic of sleeplessness, which is a pandemic. So if we look at this, here's a study that was done in 2013 by the National Sleep Foundation, looking at how many hours people slept per work night during the week. And if you notice, none of them are up to what the 8 hours that we should get. And it's also interesting to note that they're asking during work nights, because one of the big fallacies or myths about sleep is, boy, I can burn the candle at both ends during the week. I can finish that project. I can stay up late to study for that test or whatever it is I may need to get done. And then I'll sleep in on the weekend and catch up. It doesn't work that way. This is 8 hours required of sleep during a 24-hour period. It's on the circadian rhythm. And poor sleep can cause a lot of health issues, including fatigue, heart disease, weight gain, diabetes, anxiety, stroke, kidney disease, and cancer. And many of these are stress related as well, because with a lack of sleep, we really increase the stressful responses of our body. So a lack of sleep also prevents our brain from making new memories. It's just like we can't hang on to those things. It also, one poor night's sleep can decrease our immune efficiency 70%. And when you think about it, let's say we've gone 2 or 3 nights without a good night's sleep. What happens? We usually get that cold or that flu, just because of the same reason for not having as an efficient immune system, because it's diminished because of poor sleep. Now, poor sleep's also been linked to cancer, and in fact, recently the World Health Organization classified nighttime shift work, in other words, those people working through the night and sleeping through the day, as a probable carcinogen. Very, very, very powerful there. And it's also very detrimental to our cardiovascular health, which can be related to stress, as I said. But also, one interesting thing is in just a couple weeks, we're going to go to daylight savings. So we will lose an hour of sleep. So it's been noticed globally that when that happens, there's a 23% increase in heart attacks when we lose that 1 hour sleep, when we switch the time to daylight savings. So what's the problem? Why aren't we sleeping well? Many times, and I alluded to this, it's just a choice. We'd rather be active, do something, get that project done or whatever, rather than get a good night's sleep. So this is don't get confused by this. This is the sleep cycle. And there are 5 stages of this cycle. And for a good night's sleep, we need to replicate that 5 times. So even if you're a really efficient sleeper, because each cycle takes 90 to 110 minutes, you'd need at least 7.5 hours of sleep. So what happens is we go through these sequentially. And what happens if we are interrupted, we don't keep going. Let's say we're going from stage 2 to stage 3 in the sleep cycle, and we feel too hot, or, so we're wrestling with the covers or throwing covers on and off, or we feel too heavy in one spot and we start to toss and turn, and anything that can wake us up. And what that does is it takes us from going from 2 to 3, rather than progressing through the cycle back to stage 1. So interrupted sleep can lead to a poor quality sleep as well. So how about a nice quality nights? Kind of usually remember that as maybe my younger days, just waking up in the morning with tons of energy, and I can't wait to get out in that baseball field, let's say on a Saturday morning, and go play in a little league or whatever it is. This is an interesting conversation, because about 70% of people do not get a good night's sleep. So it's a conversation you can have with people. And many times we'll notice, especially if it's somebody we know well, that they just appear as though they didn't have a good night's sleep. So as far back as the 5th century BC, Sophocles wrote, "Sleep is the only medicine that gives ease." And if this is the case, it stands to reason that sleep, or poor quality sleeps, can give disease or disease. So Nikken has a solution for this. And this is the Nikken sleep system, the Kenko Nature S Fit sleep system. And this is a system that's designed around the physiology of sleep. So it has a number of different technologies in it. We have magnetic technology to replicate the Earth's energy. We have orthopedic support for all body types. There's massage nodules, so you don't toss and turn as much. We have reflective temperature regulation, so you're neither too hot nor too cold. We help relax you with this tourmaline, which gives off negative ions, either if it's heated or if it's compressed with your body weight. We use environmentally natural materials and safe materials, recyclable materials. And it is, like, as I said, it is designed, and this is really a magnificent job of using technology to provide a solution that affects many people, to provide a great quality sleep. So What wakes us up again? Let's review that. We can't relax. Let's say we hurt. It's very hard to fall asleep if we're experiencing discomfort. We're too hot, we're too cold, we feel too heavy in one spot, we start to toss and turn. Many people have breathing issues and need some support in their necks to breathe better. And we sleep a little better when our head's a couple degrees cooler than the rest of our body. So if our head's too hot, what do? We wake up, we interrupt that cycle, and we move to a cool spot on the pillow. And many of us have noticed during the evening that we do that. So these technologies alleviate these problems that wake us up during the evening. So the magnetic technology can help us from discomfort. It can also calm us down. The tourmaline with the negative ions helps us relax. Prior to the Nikan sleep system, before I invested in that for my sleep, as an adult, I would, my brain would never slow down. I'd lay in bed awake thinking about things that I needed to do or wanted to do or whatever it might be, but it was very difficult for me to just shut my brain down. The bioceramic reflective fibers help with temperature regulation. And so we're neither too hot nor too cold, and we don't wake up to throw those covers on or off, whichever the case may be. And also the breathable fibers help with this temperature regulation as well. And the massage nodules are great for helping reduce tossing and turning because they keep you more comfortable. So I'm going to share with you an article, and this was written that I wrote a number of years ago. And Nikan Corporate called me up and they said, Gary, we notice that you seem to recommend, and a lot of people get sleep systems from you on your distributor number. And they said, if you could, would you maybe share with the rest of the Nikan field or our global wellness community why that is? And what I did, and I've done this now for about 24 years, is I would do a benchmark. I would ask them these 8 questions before they use the Nikan sleep system. So for example, when I get out of bed, my muscles feel stiff or sore. And if they're stiff and sore every morning and they hurt a lot, people would use 10. And then I would ask them the same questions about anywhere from 4 to 7 days later after sleeping on the Nikan sleep system. So this is the way this worked out, which basically came to about a 45% improvement out of their own mouths in their sleep quality in less than a week. And that's huge. And this isn't just 20 people. This is close to 400 people over the last 24 years that I've done this with, and actually just recently did it with a couple as well. And I might point out too, it's many times it's the significant other that is saying, wow, my wife or my husband or my partner is sleeping much better. Or they're snoring less, or so I'm sleeping better. And that's kind of, if you're sharing the same, bed, it's important that both partners get a good night's sleep because one can definitely affect the other. Heather and I just spent 3 days in Las Vegas, and I have to tell you, even after 3 days of not sleeping on our Kinko Fit sleep system, we missed it. And the night when we got home, which is the night before last, was the best night we sleep we had last week, pretty much, because you do miss it. And it's the other nice thing about this new system too is it's very portable. You can take it with you, but since we were only traveling for a few days and limited with luggage space on the plane, we decided to not take it with us. I'm not sure we'd make that decision again, though, if we had it to do over. So here's some 7 steps for a better night's sleep. And this is from the National Sleep Foundation. Stick to a sleep schedule. Schedule sleep just like you would any other important activity during the day. Pay attention to what you eat and drink before you sleep. Try to avoid caffeine. And they say at least 6 hours, but I'm thinking even longer than that before going to sleep. Create yourself a bedtime ritual, whether that's reading, some meditation, some breathing exercises, whatever that might be, brushing your teeth, and that habitual ritual will get your body ready for sleep. Limit daytime naps, include physical activity in your daily routine will help you sleep better. And manage stress. Again, meditation, breathing exercises, some time outside, a little bit, about 20 minutes of sunlight each day also helps people sleep better. And they also recommend get comfortable, have low lighting in your room, cool temperature, and invest in a quality sleep system. And again, that's from the National Sleep Foundation. And this is the one that I would highly recommend. It has totally changed my adult sleep. I go to bed, I fall asleep quickly, I stay asleep, maybe visit the restroom once during the evening, sometimes twice, but get a good, deep, restful sleep and wake up with plenty of energy and feeling rejuvenated. So that questionnaire, if you have an interest in it, you can find it at selfcarehub.com. One of the categories is called freebies, and you can download that questionnaire if you want to use for yourself or anybody else. With that, I will stop my share and we can open it up to any comments or questions, Lorraine.
Oh, thank you very much. It's always good to hear you talk about sleep, and it continues to remind me of the importance of it. And of course, I've developed that habit of being in bed early. But
well, here's another interesting thing too, and it's elucidated very well in the Why We Sleep book by Matthew Walker that I was talking about. And I'll use myself as an example, if you don't mind. I'm a night owl. I like to stay up late. That's usually when the kids were small. That's when I do a lot of my work, would be late at night. And then I wouldn't end up going to bed till 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the evenings. And usually didn't have too much that I had to get up early for. But a lot of times society, the old expression, the early bird gets the worm, up and at 'em, things along those lines. And as Dr. Walker points out, about 30% of the population are naturally night owls, and they sleep better when they go to bed later and sleep in more in the morning. And when you think about that, it's probably an evolutionary byproduct. Whereas when, say, we were hunters and gatherers or living in caves, you didn't want everybody asleep at the same time. You need people up to be looking out for predators and other things. So there's also been many, many studies at different schools showing and identifying children that were night owls versus early birds, and how much better they do in their studies when they're allowed to sleep on their own natural pattern. That biologically, basically, they're predetermined to do. So I found that fascinating. So.
Yeah, yes. Has anybody else got any questions for Dr. Linda? Olive, do you have any questions?
No, I found that a very interesting presentation, though.
Yeah, yeah. I find that
Thank you, Olive.
Those 90-minute cycles, mine are always interrupted because I've got frequent bathroom breaks. So, and even rolling over, I thought, I've got to go to the bathroom before I get comfortable on the other side. So my sleep is disrupted because of that. And so anyway, but I certainly appreciate it.
I've had a number of people tell me that need to visit the restroom more frequent than say they want to. And I've never tried this myself, but I've had a number of people say compression socks, sleep with compression socks helps a lot. So yeah.
Oh, well, I'll have to try that to see what happens.
Yeah, I've never tried it myself, but okay. Yeah.
Elevating your legs, I've heard too, in the evening.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Probably same principle there. Yeah.
Lynn, do you have any questions?
I just say I have found a difference in the waking up since I've been drinking the hydrogen water.
Yeah.
I don't wake up as much.
Yeah, because your water is being absorbed. Yes. Lynn?
No, that was really interesting. I Makes me think about, I mean, watching my daughter as an example, she has a totally different sleep cycle than I do. And, but she
Yeah.
gets her sleep. She's able to sleep in, except on days that she's got to be somewhere. But, I think that's true. We have different sleep cycles. And I find that part really interesting.
Okay, I'm going to stop